Hey everybody, James with Love My Pups, My Breeder Supply. So I want to do a video on, you've already got a female Frenchie, and now you're thinking about getting another one. Should it be a boy or a girl? And so I'm going to treat this a number of different ways. So I guess the first thing is, which is better, a female Frenchie or a male Frenchie? Well, if you compare apples to oranges and they're both spayed dogs, both of them are not intact anymore, then they're both great. My wife thinks that the males are more affectionate than the girls, but I think that Frenchies, and probably Frenchies is what we're specifically talking about here, but generally males and females, once they've been spayed, that they tend to be very, very similar. And when you neuter a male dog, you do cut back on some of the testosterone-induced aggressive behavior. So I think that if you're planning on having a male in your house, specifically in your house, you should absolutely get that dog neutered. Now, that kind of leads to a different part of this whole conversation. That's somebody who's getting a male because he wants that dog to be a stud dog. And that is a rather different situation. So I'm going to talk about that here in a second. I just want to go back on this spaying thing for a second. A female that's spayed will not suffer from uterine cancer. If you're going to have a female dog that you don't ever plan on having puppies from, get her spayed. It potentially can extend her life, and you don't go through the problems of unwanted pregnancies and some behavioral changes when she's pregnant, and other dogs surrounding your house wanting to mate that dog. So if you've got a female dog, you don't plan on having any puppies, I think it's the prudent thing is to spay her. If you have a male dog and you're going to have him in your house, and he's not going to be a stud dog, same thing, spay him. If you have a dog that has one testicle, definitely spay him, because you have a bigger chance of getting testicular cancer later on. But if you have a male dog that's going to be a stud dog, that's what we're talking about. So there are a number of reasons why you may or may not want to have a male dog, intact dog in your house. The first one is behavioral changes. So I've got a number of stud dogs, and I've got a few females. My females are in the house with me. My stud dogs absolutely are not. If any of those stud dogs comes into my house, they will pee 3 times in 3 minutes in different parts of the house. And if I have 2 stud dogs together and there's a female in heat, I could have some aggressive behavior too towards either the female or the other male. So a stud dog is a rather different creature, and he needs to be treated differently than a dog that is not intact anymore. So then it gets to be this financial question as to, okay, I've got a stud dog, and the reason I've got a stud dog is I want to use this dog on other females. And specifically, I've already got a female, and I'm thinking about having a litter. So I want to look at this from a financial point of view next. And there's the people who won't like this conversation because they think that if we're doing things with dogs, we shouldn't be doing things for financial reasons. But it is what it is, and so we're just going to discuss this part of it. Okay, so the first question is, what is a reasonable fee for a stud dog? Because this kind of goes into this whole financial thing. And I think that generally the answer to this is that a stud dog should be getting a stud fee that's something around 10% of the value of the average litter that he produces. Okay, so I'm going to talk about Frenchies because I know about Frenchies. So if you have, and I'm going to start by, I'm going to take a different colored pen here, and we're going to talk about 2 different situations. So on this side over here, we've got the stud. And over here, we've got the dame. We have the female. Okay. So firstly, let's talk about his stud fee. So let's say that the average size litter for a Frenchie is 3 to 5 puppies. Obviously, you have litters of 1, you have litters of 12, But the average size litter, let's just call it 4 puppies because it's easy. So I'm going to talk now specifically about different colored Frenchies because they garner different amounts of money. So let's talk about a blue Frenchie. A blue Frenchie who is going to produce a litter of 4 blue dogs I sell those dogs typically for something average price about $5,000. So 4 dogs at $5,000 a piece means that that litter would be something approaching $20,000. So that would be the expected value of that litter. And so if I say his stud fee should be something around 10% of that, then his fee should be 0.1 times that, which makes it $2,000. And by the way, I have 4 blue French bulldogs, various different other genetics that with them, and those prices range from a low end of $1,200 to a high end of about $2,200 for those stud dogs. All right, so that fits in with that. Okay, and just to kind of take this one step further, well, I've got a cream dog. I have a cream boy, and he will produce a litter of creams, and they're typically around $3,000 a piece. They're about $3,000 each. And so a litter of 4 of those dogs would be a litter that would be worth about $12,000. And his stud fee is $1,000, which is, again, about 10%. That's his stud fee. And then I have a Merle, Lilac, and Tan. I've got a lot of stud dogs, but I've got a Merle, Lilac, and Tan, absolutely gorgeous boy. And he is producing puppies that are in the Merles that are in the $13,000 to $16,000 range. So make an average of those of $15,000. 4 puppies times $15,000 a piece generates a litter of $60,000. Sounds like a lot of money, doesn't it? His stud fee is $5,000. So you can see why that comes out. All right. So I just wanted to kind of clarify, that's a bit of interesting information. What should a stud fee cost? Now look, there's very special dogs out there that their stud fees are going to be very, very high because they are in great demand. And there are dogs out there that don't look very good that shouldn't even be stud dogs. So, there's going to be all kinds of variation on this. And just don't think that because James said that the stud fee should be this, that that's what somebody else is going to charge you, because that ain't the case. I'm just trying to verify how we're going to do this analysis. Okay, so we've got a girl over here, and she's going to have 4 puppies. They're all going to be blues. So she's going to have 4 puppies, and those puppies are going to be worth $5,000 a piece. So she is going to generate $20,000. And she could do that every year. She could do 3 litters in 2 years. But let's just say that she produces that every year. All right. Now, there are some costs involved with this. There's a cost of the C-section. And this is all over the place. But for me, I can get C-sections done for $250 to $300. A lot of other people are spending well over $1,000. We'll just make this cost $1,000. That's what we'll make it, $1,000. And then there's going to be a stud fee involved. So the stud fee for this dog, we just said that it's going to be 10% of the value of the litter, so we're going to make the stud fee $2,000. So these are negatives. And when we do the math on that, we find out at the end of the day that our raw profit is something order of $70,000. Now, there's some other expenses. There's vet bills, there's feeding bills, there's toys. There's other things that are in this, but they're in the stud side too. That's why I'm not going to include them in this equation. Okay. So, what's the stud fee? What happens if we have a stud? Well, the answer is we save ourselves this right here. That's what we save ourselves. So if we have our own stud, our profits then become $19,000. We saved ourselves $2,000. But the problem is that stud dog took the place of a female that could have been in your house, and she would have generated another $17,000. So when you look at the end of the day, you've got to use a stud dog over many, many females before it makes any sense to have a stud dog. So my point here is that if you think you want a stud dog, think about how many females you're going to use that dog on to make it sense that you've got to have about 8 dogs to save yourself what you'd have generated from a single female in its place. So you've got to have a lot of females before a stud dog makes sense. And I think the number is probably 5 or 6 females before it makes sense to have a stud dog. And you're at that point, maybe a stud dog makes sense. Then you've got another problem. The next problem is you want to keep a puppy back from these breedings. You can't breed it back to that stud. That's line breeding. That'll get you in trouble. It won't get you in trouble with the AKC, but it'll get you in trouble with having problems with dogs that have recessive genes, that you've got some bad stuff that pops up. Now, those of us who are in the show world do line breeding, and we do it for specific reasons. We're prepared to take the risk to accentuate some great quality. We're prepared to take some risks on some puppies that may have problems. I don't do line breeding ever, personally, but I'm not in the show business either. But the point here is that if you've got a stud dog like me, what are you doing with a stud dog? And the answer is he's not in your house, and he's being used by other people. I have a lot of stud dogs, and I only use about 2 of those stud dogs for my girls because they're very special dogs. But I have a lot of stud dogs that a lot of other people use. And the reason I have all those dogs is that you as a customer come to me, breed a dog, get some gorgeous puppies, and then decide that you're going to keep a puppy from that. Well, if I'm going to keep it as a customer, I have to have another unrelated stud dog that you can then come back to use on that puppy that you kept. So now I have another stud dog, and so it goes on. So I've got 6 dogs that can produce lilacs. I've got 5 blue dogs. I've got 2 cream dogs. I've got 2 fluffy dogs. And the list goes on. And the list goes on not because I'm using those dogs for myself to save a stud fee for me. It's because I'm selling stud service to somebody else. So my argument here is basically in a nutshell is this. If you're going to have a stud dog, great. Be prepared to learn about stud dogs. Be prepared. It's a rather different part of the whole business. You know, for me, when I offer stud service to somebody, I am white gloves on the whole process. I'm not just about providing a stud service. I'm there to help with the pregnancy. I'm there to help with timing the C-section. I'm there to help with weaning puppies. I'm there to help answer questions if they have problems like staph infections or whatever else it might be, or a mum that won't eat. I'm there to help with how you might go about marketing puppies. You know, I'm through the whole process. I'm not just about selling stud service. And I think that if you want to be a stud dog owner, that you need to learn about those things, because that makes people want to use you, and it makes you responsible for what you're doing. If you're raising puppies, it's a rather different part of the whole process. You've got to learn how to raise puppies successfully. You've got to learn how to market those puppies. You've got to learn how to take good pictures of puppies, and all the things that go along with raising puppies. So to me, they are rather different parts of the whole process. And so I'm not saying don't get a second dog as a male. I'm saying if you're getting a second dog as a male as a stud dog, think twice about it, because you probably should have got a female. If you're getting a male, be prepared to get in the stud business like I'm in. And by the way, I sell products like Shipmate that are designed specifically for those of you who do have stud dogs, so that rather than just offering your dog in your neighborhood, in your town, maybe within 100 miles, offer your dogs to anybody in the whole United States, even in Europe, even in Canada and Mexico and further afield. And that's what I do. So I've been very successful at this. But it's because I invented a product that let me do this, and then I had to learn all about the stud business. So just, just be prepared for what you're getting into. If you're going to have a male dog in your house, and he's going to be a family dog, you probably don't want a stud dog. If he's going to be a stud dog, then you've got to learn about the stud business, and it can be very profitable, but it's a complete different side of the whole business. Hey, got things wrong, let me know. Got some comments about things you want us to talk about in the future, let us know. We would really like it if you subscribe to us. Think we're a bunch of idiots, then let us know in a constructive way, and we'll try and take care of that too. And remember, the important thing is be nice to your doggies. Bye, everybody.